Have you ever felt like you just running on spiritual fumes, trying to get through today based on something that happened yesterday or last week? Well, there's this incredible ancient story that talks all about this, the surprising danger of what we're going to call yesterday's bread. Okay, so let's start with a puzzle. Imagine this. You're out in the desert, and every single morning, food, actual bread from heaven, just appears on the ground. It's a total miracle. But there's this one weird rule. If you try to save any for the next day, it rots. Now, why on earth would a miracle have an expiration date? And this was the specific instruction that came with the bread. This wasn't a friendly suggestion, it was a command. Don't worry about the week, don't even think about tomorrow. The focus was completely 100% on the here and now, just today. But you know how it is, right? People tried to find the loophole. They figured, hey, I'll just squirrel away a little extra, just in case. But the next morning, what they had wasn't bread anymore. It was this disgusting, useless mess, which causing mold and maggots. Gross. And this is where we get to the heart of it all. That rotting, that spoilage. It wasn't some kind of accident or a flaw in the miracle. It was the entire point. Yeah, you heard that right. The spoiling was a feature, not a bug. It was put there on purpose to teach this incredibly powerful lesson. God's provision, His connection with us, it isn't something you can just stockpile. It's meant to be a fresh, daily thing. And this idea is so critical, it doesn't just hang out in the Old Testament. Fast forward centuries later, and you hear it echoed in one of the most famous prayers ever. Sound familiar? Of course it does. In the Lord's Prayer, Jesus tells His followers to pray exactly like this. And notice the words He uses, this day, daily bread. It's the same principle as the manna. He's not saying give us our weekly bread or our monthly bread. Nope. It's a daily request for a daily need. So let's just give this thing a name, daily dependence. It's the simple spiritual idea of looking to God for what you need today. Fresh insight, fresh strength, a fresh connection, instead of trying to live off the spiritual leftovers from yesterday. Okay, and this is where it really gets personal for all of us. Because even though we're not out there gathering literal manna, we all fall into this trap of trying to live on yesterday's spiritual bread. So what's that even look like in our lives? Well, it's trying to coast on the good feeling you got from yesterday's prayer. It's hoping that last week's Bible study insight is going to be enough for this week's problems. It's hanging on to that really powerful church service or that amazing spiritual high you had months ago and just praying it'll be enough to get you through. And here's the problem. Yesterday's bread just wasn't made for today. That incredible revelation you had yesterday, it just becomes stale information if it doesn't lead to fresh obedience today. That feeling of closeness to God fades away if you're not actively seeking it right now. And a past provision is just a good memory. It's not present-day faith. And just like that manna back in the wilderness, when we try to hoard these past spiritual moments, when we try to make them last longer than they were ever meant to, they don't just lose their kick. They actually begin to rot. So what does that spiritual rot even feel like? Well, it usually happens in a few stages. First, that special feeling, that anointing on the moment, it just lifts. Then the clarity you felt starts to get kind of fuzzy and unclear. And finally, that conviction, that fire you felt inside, it starts to dull. That moment was for that day and that day alone. So you have to ask the question, right? Why? Why is the whole system designed this way? Why can't we just stock up on all the good stuff and save it for a rainy day? And the answer is actually incredibly simple. And it's all about grace. It's not for God's sakes, it's for ours. This whole system is a gift designed specifically for us. Let's face it, we are weak or forgetful, and we get distracted so easily. This daily rhythm is what keeps us coming back, what keeps us centered and connected. So if any of this is sounding familiar, if you're feeling a little convicted right now, the good news is that the solution is incredibly simple. It's not about feeling guilty or trying harder, it's just about making a simple choice. If you're feeling spiritually dry or stale right now, you don't need to panic. The answer is the same as it was for the Israelites in the desert. Stop trying to squeeze some life out of old, crusty bread. Just go get today's bread. And you gotta remember, the source of this nourishment isn't gone. It's always, always available. God is a living God. The Bible is the living word. The provision isn't just some historical event. It's a living, breathing reality we can tap into right now, today. So I guess that leaves all of us with one final question. Forget about last week. Forget about even yesterday. What does getting today's bread actually look like for you right now? It's a simple question, but man, answering it could change everything.